You can still see and everything, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's not working. We're gonna get rid of that. That's fine. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Grayson Politics, a Grayson Media production. I'm your host, Grayson. Um, we have our first guest on tonight, our first candidate actually on the show. So we want to thank him for joining us. Our platform is about facts, accountability, transparency, elevating voices that can't often not be heard on major networks. Tonight, we're joined by DeLano Cain-Watson, Democratic candidate for Iowa's House District 71. He's part of a new generation of leadership, or an educator, entrepreneur, community advocate, and Gen Z candidate who says his campaign is driven by people and not establishment donors. The seat he's running for is important. It shapes policy affecting Iowa families, schools, and healthcare, housing, and the future direction of the state. And as always, on this platform, we respect our guests and we ask fair but direct questions, and we give voters the opportunity to hear candidates clearly. So, Delano, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on our platform. And before we dive in, I want to give you the floor for a moment for the viewers or who may be hearing your name for the first time. Who are you, and why are you stepping forward to run? And I'll give you your time.
Yes. So yeah, first I want to say thank you for having me on. I'm DeLano Cain-Watson. I am a candidate for the Iowa House Representatives in District 71, which many of you probably don't even know where that is. But Dubuque, Iowa is about 3 hours from Chicago. So if you think about the Midwest, if you know where Chicago is, we're basically near there. Um, I just finished my master's degree in public administration. So this all of this kind of political work is right up my alley. And my master's thesis actually focused on how do you engage young black voters during politically divisive times. So, basically right now.
Okay.
And so that is basically kind of what really pushed me to jump into the race. I voted for the first time in 20 I turned 18 in 2019, so I voted in the first my first election in 2019, and I voted in every single election since then. Politics is something that is kind of near and dear to my heart because it is something that I think really a lot of people say that they don't do politics or whatnot, but it's kind of like really unfortunately politics is in literally everything that you do.
Sure.
And so yeah, I think that's really what kind of pushed me. And I think seeing a lot of candidates that run for office, especially at the state level, the federal level, are typically in the older millennials or Gen X or baby boomers. And so a lot of the decisions that are being made by people that um, for the baby boomers may not be really around to really reap the benefits or the pros or cons of what they're putting into legislation. It's us young folks. And so I said, what better way to fix the system than getting out there and running myself? So that's what really kind of pushed me. And I'm a yoga instructor here in Dubuque. I'm also a massage therapist. I'm a three-time author. I'm working on a fourth book too. So
Okay.
I'm very, very busy. Um, but it's all the work that I love to do. I'm very active in my community. I serve on a couple of boards at the city level, at the state level too, and nationally. So yeah, I am all over. But it's kind of like what I think prepares me for a state legislative a representative role, because you really do have to wear a lot of hats at one time. You don't have to be an expert at everything, but you have to really understand how systems work. And so I think with my experience, I've gained a good knowledge of how systems work here in Iowa. And of course, you never know all the answers either. But
Perfect.
yeah,
So let's build on that. Your story is fascinating, first of all. Um,
thank you.
what motivated you only, and how old are you again?
24, about to be 25 in March.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to get it right. What motivated you at 24 to run for public office um, at times, and especially for this legislator? Because I believe I did a little research. You did run before for
Yep.
city council and so forth. So what making you run for this seat?
Yes. So the number one thing that really is making me run for this seat is the school. I did lose. I ran for city council and for school board this past election. I didn't win either seat. I lost in the city council primary back in October, and so
Mm,
then I was still in the race for school board. And I had the school board election was November 4th of 2025. I lost the school board election, but really, what a lot of people told me was to not stop running,
mm,
rather that be for a seat in this upcoming election right now when I'm running for Iowa House, or even waiting an election and running for city council in 2 years from now, or waiting 4 years running for mayor or running for whatever. A lot of people just told me not to stop, and that I gave them a lot of hope. And I did a lot of things that other candidates just simply don't do. I reach out to a lot of younger candidates. It does help that I'm younger myself,
mm,
and it also helps that I think that well, it's not just I think, I know that, like, other candidates don't reach out to young people. They don't
mhm.
reach out to people who's been involved in the carceral system. They don't reach out to people that may not know all the answers in terms of politics. And that's what I did do. And so those same people said that, I gave them energy. I gave them something to look forward to. I really woke a lot of people up to, a lot of us, especially within the Black community, kind of look at politics as something like, oh, I don't do politics. But at the end of the day, politics is going to do you, because if you have a job, you're paying taxes. Who gets to spend those tax dollars? Politicians. If you have kids that go to public school, guess what? You're doing politics, because politics determine how schools can be governed, etc. So essentially, I had 5,046 people vote for me in a school board election, and so that means that out of I want to say there was probably like 30,000 voters altogether. That means that 5,046 people believed in my mission, believed in what we were doing. And I say, I don't want to stop. Especially, what really pushed me, kind of the last thing to run for this seat, was the fact that the person that is the representative that's in the seat right now at the state level, the seat that I'm running for, she's running now for United States House of Representatives. So her seat is open. That's the seat that I'm running for. And it's like almost like never, it's very rare that it happens. And so if you don't run for the seat now, it'll be 10 years, 20 years before the seat's open again. So,
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Um, s- so how did your upbringing in Dubuque, right? Dubuque,
Hmm. Yep.
in Dubuque shape the way you see education, opportunity, and fairness?
Yes. So, I was born and raised in most of my childhood in Chicago, and I moved to
Okay,
Dubuque when I was in 8th grade. So, kind of
okay,
towards the end of like childhood, kind of entering young adult and high school or whatnot. Um, I really kind of trace it back to Chicago more than I trace it back to Dubuque. Only being because I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and a lot kind of goes on there, both positive and negative. And I think being around that environment, being around, failing public schools, being around a city council that didn't do much to, and still is even to this day, not doing a lot to really help struggling communities like the south side of Chicago. I think that really pushed me out to um, really start caring, because, like I said before, when you notice a problem, you can do one of two things. Either you can complain and change, or you can just complain and be complacent. And so I think that really helped to kind of shape me into wanting to choose to run, and that kind of upbringing in this in Chicago, being born and raised on Medicaid, Section 8 food stamps, that really kind of pushed me to say, okay, these are the systems that I depended on as a kid, and I was able to kind of grow up and, as a lot of people say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps or whatever. Like I was able to do that, but not a lot of people that come from where I come from are fortunate enough to be able to do that. And so I want to, be at least be part of the solution or part of what I envision as a solution to help give people some type of hope. And so that kind of upbringing, and one thing about the South Side of Chicago, or really just anywhere that you're in a lower income neighborhood, a lot of people might look at it as, oh, the community's not connected, and that's the furthest from the truth. Being a young Black man, like I know that my community is very tight knit, and so that is what really, like, that kind of community feeling is what really pushed me to um, yeah, run today. So
Perfect. And also, um, you worked as you said you worked as inpatient services representative, a massage therapist, yoga instructor, and you're an entrepreneur. Have those roles taught you about every what have excuse me, what have those roles taught you about everyday Iowans?
yes. So one thing that's common, one common theme amongst all of those roles is the connection really back to public health or community health. And that's really where my passion lies in. A lot of candidates typically are quote unquote kind of like experts at one field, or they're really like their field is like there's something that like really gets them going. And for me, it's healthcare, it's public health, it's community health, is that kind of understanding that health is multifaceted. It's not just your physical health, and really your physical health is just probably the smallest part of your entire, like, overall wellness or overall well-being. So, yeah, you got your physical health, but you got emotional and mental, you got your financial health, political health. Like there's so many avenues or so many different types of health that you really do have to understand and see how those are intertwined. And so all of those roles again kind of connect back to community in some way, shape, or form. So that's really what brings me, to this, yeah, to running today. So
Also, perfect. You turned those experience into um you turned those experience into what you call the Spark platform.
yeah.
And so let's unpack that and what that actually means for voters. So
Mhm.
your platform is called Spark, and you said that it represents change and you want to ignite to in Iowa. Um, what does the future what does a future ready curriculum look like in real time, and how would you expand joint enrollment with local colleges?
Yes. So that the education part connects to the S in the letter spark, and in the
Mhm.
word spark. And so S is strengthen education for all. It's kind of like my platform, my top five priorities, but I'll just talk about the concurrent enrollment part that you mentioned. So I in my high school, I actually it's very interesting. I started high school here in Iowa, but then I've lived all over. But I started high school here in Iowa, and I went to half of my high school years here in Iowa. Then I moved eventually to Colorado. And so when I moved from Dubuque to Colorado, well, I lived in the city of Denver in Colorado. When I lived in Denver and I first enrolled in a school, it was an early college. At first, I didn't know what that meant. And basically, as I, got into the school, I understood, quickly what that meant. Every single student that went to my high school had to take, I want to say, at least one or two college classes every like school year. And
Mm.
so I was fortunate enough to have tested into a full course load of college classes. And so those were concurrent enrollment classes. So I was a high school student and a college student in one. So actually, I graduated high school with sophomore college credits already, and so that was afforded to me by the college through my high school, Denver Public Schools, and the Community College of Denver, or Community College of Aurora, Colorado, had a concurrent enrollment agreement that our high school teachers were essentially licensed as college professors to teach college level classes. So instead of taking just a regular old, like, junior level English class or senior level English class, I took a college freshman level English class. I took like I took a math for liberal arts class. That was a college. So yeah, so I took a college level math class, I took a college level English class, I took a couple of political science classes that were college level, and so those experiences really allowed me to not only gain the high school credit but also gain a college credit at the same time. And so when I ended up graduating high school, I was a college sophomore already, and what that did was, for me, somebody that come from a lower income family, lower income community, that allowed me to get a taste of college, for one, to see if I wanted to go to college. Two, that also afforded me to not have to pay the tuition on those credits either, because the school paid the tuition on it. And three, that also allows a lot of students, a lot of my classmates, to go right into a major when you go to college, because everybody talks about the gen ed classes that you have to take, and everybody hates gen ed classes. And in a lot of cases, a lot of gen ed classes can be looked at as like almost like a waste of money. That's not the way that I looked at it, and that's not the way I look at it today either. But gen ed classes do give you a wealth of knowledge, but typically you spend about a third, well, you spend about a quarter, I guess, yeah, because it's about a full year of classes of taking gen ed classes. I graduated high school with those classes already out of the way, so I was able to, go into college and switch my major a few times and not feel like I'm leaving behind anything. So that really helped me. And so I want to see schools and high schools move away from this AP curriculum, or advanced placement curriculum, and move into a concurrent enrollment curriculum, because AP classes, what you do is you're sitting in the class all year long, and then so you learn all the knowledge, essentially college level knowledge, and then you have to wait until the end of the school year to take the AP exam. If you don't pass the AP exam with a high enough score, it may not transfer into certain colleges. But every college can set their own admission standards and what level of score of on the AP exam that they'll take. So concurrent enrollment, the program that I was enrolled in, gets you those college credits right away. As soon as you're done with the class, you get the college credits just like as if you were a college student on campus. AP is a little bit different. And I was an honor student in high school, and I graduated to 4 point something GPA. I was a wonderful student in the classroom, but I'm a terrible standardized test taker. And so a lot of students that are lower income are in my same exact boat. And so I wasn't a bad student. I just was a terrible test taker. So um, that allowed me to understand really the power of concurrent enrollment versus AP. And I know that was a long-winded answer, but
No,
I kind
no,
of
no.
like answered all the
No,
kind of parts of that.
I definitely relate to that, as I think we spoke before we went live, that
Yeah.
I am dyslexic. So I
Hmm.
went through a lot of in high school, I went through a lot of I had to be I was in a charter school system where maybe 15, 16 kids in a class, and it was great. I got to focus, but also, I couldn't keep up with, there were certain things and certain times where I'm like, oh, slow it down, with the teacher
Hmm.
or whatever. And then when it came to standardized testing, I'm like, oh, this is not what we learned, in the class. And
Right.
I would ace my homework, ace quizzes, exams, pop quizzes. So I definitely can relate, most
Yeah.
definitely. Um,
Definitely.
so the next question, you excuse me. Let's see. What does it curriculum? You've emphasized brain health in schools. What is that? What is that such a why is that such a central pillar?
Yes. So, one of the reasons why brain health, especially brain health within the school system, is such a big part of my life. I sit on the board for Mindful Minutes for Schools, which is an organization that um, goes into the schools in Dubuque and also really around the state of Iowa and teaches mindfulness practices like breathing and meditation and even a little bit of yoga, teaches them about like just spirituality and chakra systems and energy and how emotional, social emotional learning, or it's kind of abbreviated to say SEL. Where we're integrating that. This is not just new to the state of Iowa either. It's really around the country. But social emotional learning is something that is really making a big difference in communities and especially in schools, and especially within schools that are public schools and that serve Black and Brown children and students that are lower income, or students that may come from, like, in your case, may have some sort of learning curve or some sort of developmental curve. And so, what this does is when you're allowing the student to process those emotions and process that frustration behind what they're not understanding in a class, not just academically, but even socially, a lot of students, there's a lot of built up anger when you feel frustrated because you're not feeling heard. And so, what that does is, that then translates to your academic outcomes. And so, there was a study that was done across the state of Iowa in terms of what teaching kids yoga and teaching kids like meditation and mindfulness practices and what that's doing in our classrooms, and how monumental that is for changing the academic outcomes for students, especially students that came from a place that, like I did, like Chicago public school system originally, um, that doesn't necessarily do right by its students. It really gives us something to have hope. And so that's what really pushes me to kind of push for this in our schools.
Yes, I'm a big mental health advocate, especially in my adult life. I believe in it. Even in my day job, uh, I preach it.
Hmm.
I take some time. I tell my coworkers, take it some time to yourself. Take 5 minutes.
Hmm.
I work in hospitality, so that's very
Yeah.
demanding, and customer service and stuff like that. So yes, I definitely and can relate, and I'm great. I'm grateful that you're an advocate on that.
Yeah.
Um, so I did some research, and in the past you talked about income restricted housing and stronger oversight of subsidized programs. If elected, what reforms rise? What if elected? What reform rise to the top? Um, yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the issues that's impacting Iowa, right? Well, there's many issues impacting us in terms of housing, but one of the major issues right now, especially within my specific district around the state, is we have a lot of mobile home parks, or trailer parks, is what a lot of people know them as. And so, typically, trailer parks, when you have a trailer that is, in a trailer park, you either rent it or you own it. Now, renting it, you're just paying, probably, a couple $100 a month, or probably close to 1,000 a month for, a 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, etc. Just like how you would a regular house. But if you own your trailer, if you own your mobile home, you own the mobile home, but not the plot of land that it sits on. So
Mm,
you still end up, let's say, in a mobile home, like there were, I looked online a couple of days ago, there were some that were running for like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, something that is, it is a big investment, but that's a lot cheaper than, a traditional house.
mm,
Let's say you went to go spend $30,000 on a new mobile home. So you now all you're paying on that is, you're paying the property taxes on that. But remember, the plot of land that that mobile home sits on is not owned by you. It's owned by a mobile home park. So you're paying the mobile home park probably $200, $300 in rent a month. Now,
mm,
what's happening is a lot of those mobile home parks are selling the entire mobile home parks to out of state corporations. Those out of state corporations are moving in and jacking up the lot rent. So now what does that do? A lot of people that live in mobile home parks take advantage of, the lower rent, and so that typically means a lot of single families and a lot of people that are retirees that are on fixed incomes that are on Social Security. So Social Security only changes once a year, and that's at the beginning of the year. So I want to say like the base amount is probably around like 960 something dollars a month, and maybe like 970 or 980 now. It's just under $1,000. So you take somebody that only makes $1,000 a month, and you have them pay the mortgage on the mobile home. You have them pay the property taxes, and you have them pay the lot rent on top of paying utility bills, on top of affording groceries, which a lot of people aren't affording right now, on top of paying for healthcare. And what if they're diabetic? Now you have to pay for insulin. Now you have to pay for diabetic insulin supply. So it goes very, very deep. And so I want one of the kind of reform policies I want to have is looking at what can we do to stop allowing these mobile home parks to sell to out-of-state corporations and that come in and jack up the rent, and even saying, maybe you can't change the rent cost above what the standard cost of living is. Some which raises between 1.5 to about 3% a year, or cost of living increases. And so I'd like to see some type of reform like that, or possibly even saying that there has to be some type of bid process before you can sell, putting some sort of restriction, or even making it where they can't raise the rent, above what somebody is able to reasonably pay, especially if that person owns their mobile home. If I'm already owning my mobile home, why, and I'm paying you lot rent, why would you jack the rent from 200 up to 300 up to 400 up to 500? So you're increasing their rent 200, 300, 400%. And that's devastating to people who are on a fixed income, especially retirees. So,
Most definitely, it's very hard out here from the Midwest all the way to the East Coast to
yeah,
the West Coast. So definitely, everybody's feeling it across the nation.
yeah.
Um, Iowa is losing young residents. Why, and what would make them stay?
Yes. So a couple of things. I'll talk about it first from a Dubuque standpoint, and then I'll talk about it from a more statewide standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, here in Dubuque, if you're young, there's not a whole bunch to do besides four things: drink, party, smoke, and gamble. And so when you like for me, and I'm even in a point, like I'm at a point in my life where I am a little bit more privileged than a lot of young people that are my age. I lived in Dubuque prior to going to college here, so I'm able to live at home, and not have to worry about the cost of living, at least directly. So what this is doing for me, what this is doing for a lot of people is we're graduating college. So Dubuque is really good at recruiting people here, but terrible at retaining us here. Because again, there's not a lot to do besides drink, party, smoke, and gamble. It's very well, at least for young people. The cost of living is skyrocketing. There are not jobs when we're graduating college. There are not opportunities to allow us to even see that raising a family is something that we want to do here. And I want to change that. I don't want to see Dubuque. And by the way, Dubuque is the first city in Iowa. So that's even more heartbreaking that we're like the first city in Iowa and we are contributing to the crumbling state as it is. And so I think what the reason why that's not changing a whole bunch is because we continue to send the same kind of representatives to the state house to represent Dubuque that come from privileged points of view or privileged environments or optimal environments. So they might not quite understand what it means to be young, what it means to not see a future here in Dubuque. And I mean, I'm lucky because I'm an entrepreneur. So I have the choice to, increase my clientele as a massage therapist, or I have the choice to increase clientele as a yoga instructor. Not a lot of people have that option. Even people that are college educated in Dubuque, if you're a college graduate, if you're not graduating in nursing, there's not a whole bunch here for you. And I don't want that to be the truth. Like I don't want that to be the truth any longer. I want us to start revitalizing the city and revitalizing the district and revitalizing the entire state. So then you take that to the state level, and we have like a $7.25 minimum wage.
Mm.
What that and so that's the federal minimum wage, and it has not raised since 2009. I think was the last time that we adjusted our minimum wage. So adjusted for inflation, our minimum wage should be around between $16 to $17 an hour, and we're not at that. So not only are we seeing us being undervalued in terms of our worth, in terms of work and experience and education, etc., it's becoming increasingly harder because of property tax burdens, because of lack of access to healthcare. We're second in the nation for cancer rates. And so that's like crazy to think that out of 50 states, we rank number two worst states to live in terms of cancer. And a lot of that comes back to a lot of state politicians, and that's Democrats, Republicans at every single level, every corner of the state are not doing their part to make Iowa somewhere that young people want to stay. And I think until we get young people in the room making changes that actually impact young people, we will never solve the issue. We won't get people who want to listen to young people because a lot of people on the Democrat side and the Republican side don't want to give up that power. And so
Mhm.
I think that's the direction that we have to start moving in for sure.
Those let's transition a little bit.
Hmm.
Those are thoughtful ideas. Now I want to shift into how you approach some of the tougher governing realities.
Hmm.
And Iowa faces serious public health challenges, including, like you said, higher cancer rate concerns. What does meaningful health reform look like at the state level?
Yes. So at the state level, a couple of things that Iowa does differently than other states. So we have expanded Medicaid access. Um, and so versus other states, we have our Medicaid program is expanded, so it's a little bit more of a robust program in terms of what it covers. It covers a heck of a lot more mental health services, and that's kind of the area that I kind of specialize in. And so what that at the state level, not only do we need to protect our expanded Medicaid access, but I think we also need to start looking at what we can do at the state level to lower prescription drug costs for insulin. Look at better access to for rural healthcare. And I mean, here in Dubuque, this District 71 is more of the metropolitan or the urban areas of the city of Dubuque, but the other two House districts do represent a lot of the more rural areas of the city. And so I think that we need to do all that we can to protect our rural health as well, because when our rural families, our farm families are healthy, then the city can be healthy. When the city is healthy, our rural areas are also healthy. And so at the state level, also, Iowa has a high incidence rate of substance and alcohol use disorders. And so I think that we need to do a lot more at the state level to protect that. And so we need to do a lot more with providing funding for homeless shelters and providing funding for substance abuse and substance recovery programs across the state. And looking at that as really an essential part of our healthcare crisis that's going on right now. And I think until we do that, we'll still be kind of in a circular motion. And even another thing that is really blaring here in Iowa is our maternal health. We're amongst the most terrible states to for a woman for a family to get pregnant in, because we don't have access to OBGYN. Well, we do. We don't have enough of an access to OBGYNs. And so we're seeing a lot our infant mortality rates skyrocket because of lack of access to prenatal or to perinatal care. So it's prenatal, during, like, while pregnant, and then also postnatal care. And so what that does is that pushes away families who would ever think about wanting to have kids here. And then when we look at maternal health, we know it is statistically proven that Black and lower income women are the two most impacted by our maternal health crisis that we have going on here in the state. And so those are two populations that we can't afford to lose in the state. Either we can't afford to lose our diversity, and we can't afford to lose our lower income populations either, because we will never be able to have a group of people that we can help move from a part of life that in terms of being lower income, in terms of being impoverished, we will never be able to help them get out of the rut that they are in, and unless the government starts stepping in at the state level. When we're looking at things like not only Medicaid but food stamps, Section 8, when we look at these programs, and also promoting a little bit of self-sufficiency within those programs as well. Like having programs, if we're going to be on SNAP, let's also make sure that we're funding like nutritionist visits and whatnot to learn how do we make um, healthy, affordable recipes or meals at home for our kids. We're not just giving them snacks and things that are essentially causing a lot of health issues. So it's a really roundabout answer to say essentially we have a couple of different avenues that we can start moving towards.
I love that answer because I know when when President Obama, excuse me, was
Mm-hmm.
in office, uh, Michelle Obama was big on SNAP. That's when it
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to SNAP and not just food stamps,
Yeah.
and trying to eat healthier and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then you also see a lot on social media. I believe I saw maybe a couple of months ago, someone having SNAP benefits, but just filling the card up with a lot of packaged food and frozen food and stuff like that, and maybe it was came up to the receipt. She showed the receipt, maybe came up to like $300 worth of stuff. Now, nothing is wrong with that. Now, the person did a reel and criticized the person, which I felt, but a lot of that, like you said, when you have a nutritionist, and it's not, I don't call that generational ignorance, but it's somewhat of a little ignorance in a sense, because when you don't know, when you know better, you do better. That's a Maya Angelou
Mm-hmm.
saying. And when you know better, you do better. You eat better, and you feed your family better. So you put a lot of vegetables and stuff like that. People who can teach you these things. I know I had a nutritionist not too long ago. Uh, I was fortunate to have that a part of my healthcare routine, and they teach you a lot when it comes to eating, counting calories, this, that, and the other, and not eating certain things, certain packaged things. It's a lot of junk and a lot of things. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that answer.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um, to my next question, do you support community policing? It's a two-part question. And not predatory surveillance. But what does the balance look like in practice?
Yeah. So, yes, I do support community policing because that is one of the only ways that we're going to start to mend the relationship between law enforcement, especially within the Black community. And I mean, being a Black male, I can speak directly to that experience of being pulled over and being scared to not even know if I'm going to be able to drive away, if I'm going to be alive. Because in a lot of cases, a lot of Black men don't make it out of those situations in the same way with the same outcomes as our white counterparts do. So community policing, I think, raises a lot of respect from the police officers of the communities, but also the communities of those police officers. Because if you're not actively in the communities, helping out at food drives, you're not out there at, back to school events, you're not seeing them out, you're not seeing police officers playing basketball with kids, or, you're not, essentially the police have done close to nothing to earn respect of the community. So when it does come time for police to be called into an incident that happened or anything, a lot of people do fear for their life when we shouldn't have to fear the government that we pay their salary. At the end of the day, the police department works for us. They're supposed to serve and protect us. And so the second part of that question, the balance that we can have, I think, is not only allowing them into our communities, but I feel like also having our community leaders hold them accountable when something does go wrong. And so that means, if protesting, if something happens in there, and the police department does something wrong, I think holding the police chief accountable, holding administration within the police department accountable to ensure that we have policies in place that that are not necessarily punitive, but that like I said, hold the police department accountable, but also ensure that the community is served justice too. So I think there's a way to really have both, and not allowing to have community policing, and have the community and have the police out there, but also to hold the community accountable in terms of the respect of law enforcement as well. So.
Yeah, across the country, from the Midwest where you live and on the East Coast where I live, driving while black, you
Mhm.
probably even on the West Coast is a national thing, and it's not hard. I mean, not easy. Excuse me.
Right.
I definitely concur with your perspective on
Yeah.
that as a candidate. Um, as a young black candidate from a community that has struggled economically, what perspectives would you bring to the legislator that isn't there now?
Um, Realistically, the experience of coming from a lower income community, because a lot of politicians at every level, really, like I said, come from optimal environments. A lot of them are middle-aged white men or women that are either pastors, doctors, lawyers, or business owners. One of those four. And typically, being amongst those four, they come from optimal environments, meaning that they had two married parents that were, bringing in dual incomes, and they never had to really live with the reality of food stamps, never had to live with the reality of being on Section 8. So I think coming from both the side of the user and the provider of those systems, I think that brings an interesting perspective that not a lot of people actually bring to the table. And so I understand that, like, yes, while our communities do need these social safety nets, we also need a push to, at some point, get off of these social safety nets, because I think it's just a revolving cycle as well of being on Section 8. And so then you can't get a full time job, because then you'll be kicked off because you'll be over income. Same thing with food stamps, same thing with Medicaid. So it's like, why would I go to work if the government could just pay for everything? Like, if I could do that too, I would not go to work. And then we're incentivizing people to have more kids. You have more kids, you get a larger voucher of Section 8. And then the same thing with food stamps. You get more food stamps because of the kids that you have. And so at the end of the day, I think it's important that we do have these safety nets in place, but we also have some sort of self-sufficiency program to let us know that there is a life outside of this government assistance. But right now, it's unfortunate that we don't really see a life outside of this, because I mean, everything is so expensive in Iowa. Even just being on public, I mean, I'm not on public assistance per se, but someone that is on public assistance, I could understand why they wouldn't want to get off of it. And if we got food stamps, I don't think there's anything wrong to say that we can require someone to go and see a nutritionist, and especially if we're gonna provide the money for food stamps anyways, the SNAP program. I think it's nice that we at least provide that opportunity to them, and let have access to telehealth appointments and all kind of stuff to really make it accessible. Because we can sit here and say, oh yeah, well, we're going to require you to see a nutritionist once every 3 months, once every 6 months, but if someone doesn't have access to that, how are they going to be able to do that? I come from a point of living in Dubuque, downtown in the North End, which is where it's our heavily black and brown populated community, whereas there's a lot of SNAP recipients or Medicaid recipients, and also Section 8 recipients. We don't give them anything to help them come out of that either. And so we don't there's one grocery store in the entire North End, and the prices are sky high. But every other part of the city has multiple options of grocery stores. And so I think, and even we have one natural grocers in town, which is a health food store, but that's also uptown, where people are more often than not probably not on food stamps. They don't have to live with that reality of worrying about access to healthy food. But if you don't come from those areas, if you don't come from Section 8 Medicaid food stamps, you might not understand that. You might think, oh, yeah, well, we have a natural food store here. Why don't they just go there? Well, yeah, what if you don't have a car? What if you work second shift? Our buses stop running at like 8 or 9 p.m. So then you can't take a bus. And it's so much that goes into the system that you can't just say, here's food stamps. Okay, now buy. So until you are somebody that comes from that predicament and that reality, you don't understand. There's no way you can understand.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I concur. A lot of people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, they're groomed uh some of these politicians. I even see it here on the East Coast. Uh Even here on the East Coast, they're groomed. They go to Ivy League schools, then they come back in the community, and then they don't really understand the struggle of their constituency. And so I definitely concur with your sentiment as a
Mhm.
candidate on that. Next question. Um, so what does no? Give me 2 seconds. Perspective. And finally, without. Excuse me. You're running
Mhm.
without um establishment donors. What does a people first leadership require of you personally?
Yes, personally, that really requires me to meet my voters. Now, you'll hear every candidate say this: meet the voters where they are. And for me, that means a lot more than just going into the community, talking to them for an hour, and then asking them for money afterwards. It means showing up to events. It means showing up to open houses. It means showing up to events out in the community. It means showing up to protests. It means showing up in their everyday lives. So you have mended that relationship, that people first relationship, before you even ask the people for money to help power your campaign. Because if you are showing up in their communities, they already see what you're doing before you run for office, then they are more apt to help you financially in your campaign. And that's what honestly, a lot of middle-aged white candidates just don't do, especially here in Dubuque. And you can't win an election without black, brown, and lower income people in Dubuque. And so, or even women for that matter. So, if you are not, um, finding ways to mend those relationships, you're going to continue to see yourself in a vicious cycle. So,
Understood, understood. Now let's talk about what governing actually looks like when the campaign stops, right?
mhm.
Um the Iowa the Iowa House deals with tough budget choices every year. Where would you invest and where would you draw the line on cuts? If elected,
Yes.
what would be the very first bill you introduce, and would you seek bipartisan partners? So it's a two-part question. Sorry about that.
Yes. So, I'll answer the bipartisan thing first.
Hmm.
I think the only way to really deliver for Iowans is by bipartisan support for any bill that you're passing. Because at the end of the day, the state doesn't just run off of the big Democratic cities. It doesn't just run off of the rural Republican cities, or small towns. And so you need bipartisan support from Democrats and both Republicans as well, unless you have a supermajority, which the Republicans don't right now. So the other part of that is, I have really thought about, like, as a legislator, what would be the first piece of legislation that I would introduce. And something that impacts Dubuque, that I know impacts Iowans across the state, is this idea of like opportunity zones. And what that means is, like, we have an apartment complex or apartment building, or lower income or affordable houses, or condos and apartments that are going in Dubuque, down like downtown in the riverfront, but it's in a part of town that doesn't have good access to education at either the elementary, middle school, or high school level. It doesn't have good access to transportation. Again, this is downtown, so it only has access to one grocery store, and you better have a car, because if you don't have access to the bus or whatever it is, I mean, the bus is fairly cheap to run. I mean, to ride on here, but if you don't have access to those things, you're not living within an opportunity zone. So I would like to introduce some sort of state legislation that would ban places like Dubuque, or really any city, from opening up a large plot of lower income houses without access to education, without access to transportation, without access to food and opportunity in terms of employment. This is a part of town that barely has any businesses for anyone to work at. And so if you're going to put, hundreds of lower income families, or even, if you're going to name it affordable housing, whatever term you want to coin it as, you're not putting them in an opportunity zone. And so I would like to see us at the state level introduce some sort of legislation to ban that type of predatory um, development.
Understood. Understood. The next question: every representative eventually makes a decision some constituents don't like. How will you respond when voters feel you got something wrong?
Yes. So, first, I mean, something that a lot of legislators don't do is they don't have regular town halls or community meetings or community listening sessions. So, that's what I want to have on a regular basis. But I know that even still, then, after hearing what my constituents need or want, and sometimes that might mean that I don't necessarily vote the way and in the state house where they might understand why I voted a specific way. But I will also like reiterate to constituents that when you voted me in, you entrusted me and you entrusted my expertise in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying I'm an expert at everything, but let's say we're taking healthcare, for example. If I've worked in public health, if I've worked within the insurance industry, if I worked within pharmacy, there might be things that I understand on a deeper level that my constituents might not. And I'll always communicate with my constituents. So even if we do have a disagreement, I think disagreements are healthy. I think that it's okay to sometimes have representative that might not have voted the way that you want to, because I can't make everybody happy. I'm going to represent 30,000 people. I'm not going to be able to make 30,000 people happy. There's people, I'm a Democrat, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of Democrats that I don't make happy. And so be it, I guess. It's kind of like you're not going to be able to make everybody happy, but my goal is to make the general population of those 30,000 happy, and to always legislate and always advocate for the best of my community. And so that's what I'm always going to do.
Excellent, excellent. I like that, and being transparent as well too.
Hmm.
Showing them why you voted a certain way or whatever the case may be, and get their intake. What I mean, different perspectives. I love that answer.
Yeah.
You handled the policy questions very well. Now let's have a little fun before we wrap.
Hmm.
Uh, so this segment is called something I kind of took from you. It's called Spark Spotlight Game.
Yeah.
Um, so the this is our Spark Spotlight segment. Quick, fun questions so voters get to know you beyond politics. And
Hmm.
just answer with the first thing that comes to mind. So it's going to be 6 questions. So coffee or tea during the campaign days,
Definitely coffee.
and why?
I think it just gives me that extra boost of energy.
Okay,
And I don't mind either hot or iced, but if I'm making it at home, I definitely prefer hot coffee at home, but then iced coffee somewhere else.
got it. Favorite local Iowa small business.
I would say my favorite small business here, at least in Dubuque, it would be it's a nutrition kind of tea and shake place called the Spot Nutrition. Yeah, that's probably my favorite
Shout
one
out
here in
to them.
Dubuque. But yeah, and so I would say probably across the state. There is a place in it's all over the state, but oh my god, I'm blinking on the name. It's called 30 Hop. It's a brewery and a restaurant. That's
Okay,
kind of all across the state. Now that's probably my favorite across the state, but
okay.
yeah.
Third question. A teacher who changed your life and why?
Yeah. I would say in probably high school, my high school English teacher, which her name was Miss Bleesner, she really pushed me beyond my limits a lot, and I sometimes didn't understand it in that moment. But I mean, now I'm a four-time published author, so she's kind of the person I credit with a lot of my kind of upbringing within just writing and English and reading.
Kudos to you on that.
Yeah.
Uh, First concert or favorite artist right now?
Ooh. I've actually never been to a concert before, technically, like of an artist. I've seen like a rock band, but I mean, I'm not really into rock music. I haven't been to some like a real like concert that like
Okay.
I would say probably my favorite artist would be Rod Wave because he's like the only artist that really speaks to mental health as a black man, and I think that's like powerful. So
Okay, I have to look into that.
yeah,
Rob Wave. Okay,
yeah,
be sure to DM me and send me some of his.
yeah.
Because I'm big on mental health. Um, what hobbies keep you grounded and when politics get stressful?
Yoga for sure. Really anything kind of mindfulness related, but yoga, meditation, journaling, kind of all the kind of spiritual stuff.
Got you. And if you could pass one small but meaningful law tomorrow, what would it be?
Ooh, my gosh, it's hard to think so small, because I've had to think, so
Or
many like
big,
big.
small or big.
Um,
Big. Hmm.
I think the one thing that I would pass is really universal healthcare that works for everybody. The system works for the insurance, and the insurance works for the system.
Nice. Um, Great answers. Thank you for playing along.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Before we close, I want to give you the last word. So, what is the one message you want voters in District 71 to remember after tonight? And where can people learn more or get involved with your campaign?
Yeah. So one thing I think my kind of closing message, a closing statement, I would say that really this is not a time to sit back and just check out of elections. I know that every politician will tell you that, but there's really a lot on the table in these midterm elections. A lot of state governor races are up. A lot, well, and specifically in Iowa, like our governor's race is an open race. Our Senate, one of our Senate seats is open. All 100 members of our state house. We have all four members of our United States House Representatives. We have so many local elections. Like it's a time to really just figure out how you could become involved. You don't have it doesn't have to be a grand scheme of things that you could just get if you're gonna go vote, take one friend or two friends or three friends with you. Tell a friend to go vote. And you can even if you don't know a whole bunch about politics or who your legislators are, just figure out who your state representatives. See, figure out who your mayor is. Figure out who your city council members are. Figure out who your state reps are. Your state senators, your U.S. senators, your U.S. Reps, and it's actually a lot easier than like a person might even know. And even if you don't live in District 71, you can literally just search like whatever state you live in. Like if you were to search like Iowa, find my legislator. And you'll have it. There's a link at the top that you can type in your address, and it'll pop up with who represents you at the state house, state senate, and the U.S. House and U.S. Senate, and that's easy to find. If you want to find out who your city council members are, who your mayor is, just literally search whatever city you live in. Like you can search Dubuque City Council and it comes up really easily. You can email your mayor, you can email your city council members. It's really, really easy to find this information. Because if we can be on TikTok all day, if we can be on social media all day, you can learn who your politicians are. You're paying them anyways. You're not paying TikTok. So and then I would say like to be able to find me I know there's like a chat option on here, but I can type my website in there, and I do know I think on the post that you have made to with the link for today, I think my website might be on there, but if not, I'll go and comment that underneath the post and people can find I'll actually put the link to my link tree so to have my website and also how you donate, how you figure out my top priorities and everything from there too.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Send me that information as
Yeah.
definitely so I can share it as well. And be sure to after we get off, the show is gonna go on. Of course, I'm gonna talk about more local things. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
local. But
Yeah.
be sure to send me that information via DM, so I'll put it in and share it with the audience most definitely.
Yeah.
And they, you know, your district will know, your constituency will know how to reach out, donate, and be a part of your message in your
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me on. It definitely means a lot to be able to connect even outside of, just seeing how this is impacting my constituents here. It's nice to be able to take, to talk to somebody that doesn't live here to, see how the message kind of comes across to other folks, but also just really, I think, spreading the message across the entire country, to be honest. So thank you.
No, thank you. You're our first candidate to be on this
Yeah.
show, so it's an
Yeah.
honor. We
Yes.
would love
Thank
to
you.
have you back. I'm gonna speak into existence when you get elected. Uh,
Right. Right. Right.
so thank you for joining us tonight on Grayson Politics Live. To our viewers, conversations like this matter, and they help voters make informed decisions, and they remind candidates that accountability, transparency always comes first. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Um,
Thank you.
and you have a great night.
You as well. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye bye. Now, so we want to thank our guest, Delano. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Give me about 2 minutes. So again, I want to thank the candidate Delano for joining the show. Thank you and welcome back. First of all, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on all social media platforms. Instagram, it helps the content, helps us grow. I'm a one man band, but it just helps. The engagement helps us grow when you like, subscribe, and follow and share. So definitely appreciate it. Um, so we're gonna get more local. We talked about Dubuque and Iowa and the candidates, Delano's district. Now we're gonna get more local. Back on the East Coast, we're gonna come back on the East Coast here, and we're going to talk about some things in reference towards Jersey City and New Jersey. And what I want to talk about really is the current mayor, Mayor Fulop. So recently I was just browsing on social media and I happened to see something that I didn't like on the city's website, the city's social media, excuse me. It was on the Instagram and on their link. It was Instagram and Facebook. But this is a taxpayer platform, and I felt like he should have did it more on his platform. And you know, when it comes to a mayor who or any politician, some constituents can get a lot of fatigue from that person, especially if they haven't done a lot of things that the constituency necessarily agree with. And here in Jersey City, there's been a lot of development, but not a lot of affordable housing. So you know, we're paying a lot of taxes, high rents, high taxes. The water just went up to use the water. So that's gonna, whether you're a homeowner or renter, that's still gonna affect you either way because the cost is gonna get trickled down. And a lot of speed bumps and potholes that are just being put just mirrored, filled in and not paved. Where's our taxpayer dollars hard at work? So I'm gonna play this and then I'll talk on the back end of why I don't like this, what I saw. I found I didn't like. He's going to be leaving and going into a running a quote unquote nonprofit in New York City, which I've always felt that he was trying to make Jersey City like a little New York, like the sixth borough. But let me play this and then I'll talk a little more on the other side.
Now I'm going to introduce the captain. He's our captain of the team for the next 4 months and then for the next 4 years. I want to introduce a good friend, a tireless worker, a man who's paid his dues in this city, our good friend, the next mayor of Jersey City, Steve Fulop.
Jersey City voters have elected Stephen Fulop mayor 3 times.
Mayor Stephen Fulop of Jersey City.
Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop.
Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop.
His name is Stephen Fulop.
Stephen Fulop, who's the mayor of Jersey City.
Stephen Fulop, not Fulop.
Mayor Stephen M. Fulop.
Steve is a badass. When I see someone like Steve Fulop who wants to change things, who wants to, make things different, improve our state, get rid of the corruption, I'm thrilled to death.
If you ask me 8 years ago whether we'd be able to get a third term. I would have told you it hasn't been done since the 1940s. We are thankful for the people of Jersey City.
Now I'm going to introduce.
So for those who are watching and like, why did he just play something that supported Mayor Fulop? For those who know me personally, I am not a fan of Mayor Fulop. He was a breath of fresh air back in 13 from Mayor Haley, as any politician is when they have 2 terms and stuff like that. And he ran on affordability, not so much like he ran on a not affordability, I want to say, but he ran on a campaign that back in 13 that are more of a reform from Mayor Haley. And I think Mayor Haley was 2 terms at that time. And believe me, for full transparency, I voted for him because I wasn't going to vote for Mayor Haley again. But at the end of the day, towards his 2nd term back in 17, I did not vote for him. Just skyrocketing developments where me and my family could not afford to get in. And you see all these developments and no affordable housing. Streets are still bad. You're like damaging your car as you're going, and all these speed bumps. I know there was coverage on that when he had first became during his 1st term. And then towards the 3rd term, it was like, let me do whatever the hell I want. Over the course from the 2nd to the 3rd term, and I think former Councilman Chris Gasson has spoke on this in an interview. He had a council that voted swayed towards him every step of the way. If he wanted something, he would make sure, or that's why a lot of times he had got Rolando Lavero Jr. is about to be back. 9 times out of 10 he'll be council president. He ran on Councilman Solomon's ticket, but he tried to push him out. When Rolando didn't agree with Fulop's thing. Not everybody's gonna agree with, but it's a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. And so you're coasting. You're going to the other side of the river to run this nonprofit that's going to pay you $1 million a year. That's not a nonprofit to me when you have companies like Verizon and Chase supporting, partnership for New York City and stuff. You're gonna be working with the mayor. I don't know how you would be working with the mayor, because Mayor Mandani in New York City is for affordability and reform, tenant reform, and stuff like that. So a lot of things that you didn't do here. So how would you be able to work with the mayor? That's funny. And then you're using the city platform to push all your accomplishments. Now anyone who knows me and knows me personally knows that I'm a big time Laker fan. I'm gonna correlate this real quickly from politics to sports real quick and knows that I've been a Laker fan since I can remember. And having LeBron James, I'm a Lakers fan, but I'm not a LeBron James fan. And with that being said, when it comes to LeBron, in the sense of this, he wants the love. When we won back in 2020 in the bubble situation, he wanted put some respect on my name. No, sir, you got to earn respect. And see, in the terms of Mayor Fulop, you're putting all your quote unquote accomplishments that you seem that that in a fairer light for yourself and putting them on a city platform. I know when Mayor-elect Solomon for now won, you congratulated him and just briefly, but where you in the transitional period where it comes to working with grooming him for the seat? It seems like there's nothing there where you're passing the torch for Mayor Solomon elect. I've seen no, at least do, politics is politics. So at least do a photo op, invite him to City Hall. I mean, first of all, Mayor Solomon elect is not he's not any what's the word I'm looking for? He's not any stranger to City Hall. He was a councilman for about 8 years. So but at least show a passing of the torch. It's done in the presidency. President Obama did it with President Trump in his first term. President Bush did it with President Obama. And it's just a passing, a transition of power from one administration to another. And when you do that, it just shows, peacefulness and just of your constituency that everybody's going into the right hands. I don't know if Hilly didn't do it with you. I know you weren't a big fan of Mayor-elect Solomon, and too bad, so sad. But at the end of the day, it seems like, I'm going over across the river, which you should have been in the first place. Making Grove Street and certain streets up by with these bike lanes. I know there's advocacy for groups out there. People have gotten hit on bikes. I'm all for it. But the bike lanes should be in certain wards, not every ward. And to have them in the square, in General Square, where it's a main transportation hub and the bus routes and this that, and the other, and you put all of that, the council didn't have to vote for that. You put all of that to where it's condensed and double parking, and 45,000 people, you brag about it, 45,000 people have, over the course of 12 years, we have increased our population. Built all these luxury housing, not affordable, by the way. So you have an influx in the population. I believe it's did a little research, and I believe it's about 200 and we have about 200 to close to 300,000 in population towards the last census consensus, and it's crazy. I stand clear away from General Square when you're coming off Bergen Avenue, because it's a mess, especially during rush hour time. It's a mess, as if it wasn't before years ago. And the buses, I know the first of all, I'm gonna quote. Everybody knows. I'm born and raised in Jersey City, so it's the Bergen Avenue bus, not the 8, but the Bergen Avenue bus, the 87. You know, those buses, the 80, all those buses that come into General Square from Bergen Avenue, they can barely get in, and then you have people, eh, you know, first of all, the e-bikes and all this, they don't even use the bike lanes. They ride in the street, or yeah, more so ride in the street, and it's ridiculous. But to show that platform, to put that on a city platform, you could have put that on your own platform, sir. And I think people are tired of you. I know I am. Um, I think constituents are fatigued with you. I've gone to about maybe 2 city council meetings, and you're not a fan favorite. You're not, and you know it. That's why you vetoed that bird bill, uh, that was going to help the birds and stuff like that. In terms of, the birds that are dying and smacking into all these high-rise buildings that you gave tax abatements to over the years. And you said, "Oh, let's just push it for the next man, the next council. Just tumbleweed down to let them take care of it and let them approve it." And the council was willing to vote for it, and you vetoed it. So, and I was there for that. So, when the council, surprisingly, this current council, uh, voted in favor to pass something, and you vetoed it because you have developers in your pocket. And so you need to go. I can't wait to, surprisingly, inauguration. I wish it was simultaneously when Mayor Mandani uh, inauguration was on the 1st. Well, unfortunately, we don't follow the same rules as New York City and here in Jersey City, New Jersey. So I believe there's not a lot of details with Mayor Solomon's inauguration. I've been seeing on social media, but I know it's on the 15th, on Martin Luther King's birthday, his exact birthday. So which is great, good and great. Hopefully I'll be there to cover it. Uh, we'll see. Um, if not, uh, I will get some insight, and hopefully I can get some coverage on it to present to you on the next show. But yeah, I didn't appreciate that. Don't do that. Don't do stuff like that, sir. Just ride off into the sunset. You've been here 12 years. I don't know if the mandate is for you in this new role and new job, this non quote unquote profit for you to you're getting a hefty paycheck. You're going from what, 245,000 a year as mayor of Jersey City to $1 million salary to run this partnership of New York city thing, whatever it is, to work with the mayor. Your agenda and Mandani's agenda are not aligned. So I don't understand how you say you're gonna work with the mayor. Sandy Wow, you're the outgoing CEO of this uh partnership. Uh I don't know her too well, but I know you, and I know what you're about over these past uh 8 years in the term. You've been in the role of mayor as 12, but over the past 8 years, last 8 years, you really dogged the constituency. And I'm not gonna put everything on him in terms of that, because when people well, we have about 300,000 in population. So there's 220,000 registered voters. And I think I brought this up on the last show or the show before. How the hell 47,000 people only voted this last general election in Jersey City? It makes no sense to me. 47,000. I'm one of them. 47,000 people. So when, and I'm not in the streets like that. I'm not in the community but if I do, and for the people who do reach out to me via social media and reach out to the show and stuff like that, when you do these things, it affects people. But going back to the whole voting thing, it's like, even our candidate spoke about this: get out and vote. You pay the police, you pay the city council, you pay the mayor. And excuse my French, but for people to bitch and moan over the uh over people like Mayor Fulop, I voted in the last couple of elections. So for me to bitch and moan, so be it. But for the people who haven't, almost less than a quarter worth, and then these are registered voters, not even the 50,000 that are not registered, who are staying neutral or whatever, religious reasons, whatever the case may be. But the registered voters in the city have not voted, and it's sad. And this is when you get people like this. And let's be real, I work a full-time job. I don't have time all the time to go up to City Hall for every city council meeting. The city council meeting is 2 times a month? Don't have the time to do it all the time. I did it the last 2 times. I was fortunate enough to. But if I have to take overtime to provide for my family or whatever the case, or get moonlight doing a second job or whatever, then so be it. That's what it's gonna have to be. So that's why I haven't gone to a lot of city council meetings over the years. Not to say that it's not gonna make a difference, because some of these council people are gonna make their decisions their way, but that's why you vote. And to Mayor-elect Solomon and the new council that's coming on, the only incumbents that will be on the new Jersey City Council will be Councilwoman Denise Ridley and Councilman Frank Educational Gilmore. Other than that, for all the other incoming ones who will be sworn in, do right by the people. Don't get big-headed. Share your email. Be transparent. I will be reaching out to some or most of you. I've already reached out to my council elect in Ward B, Joe Brooks, in Ward B, about the potholes and the speed bumps here on the west side, down here on the west end of the city, and the traffic during rush hour down here on 440 where I live. We need a police officer to corral that, and then it's ridiculous to where it's like gridlock traffic. You see it and all you hear is blowing, and it's chaotic. But with that being said, do right by the people. Be the same way you got into office, and I'm speaking to all of them, all the elects that are coming in, and even the 2 incumbents. Be transparent. be transparent. Have little town meetings when you can. I know the council person seat is supposed to be a part-time job, but it pays well. It pays about $85,000 a year. Average person doesn't make that. So and that's taxpayer money. So even if you can't be out there, I know you guys have been hiring, council aides and chief of staffs and stuff like that. Put your people out there so they can be knocking on doors, not during just election time, during regular times, off peak election time. You should be knocking on my door or putting something in mailboxes. Hey, this is how you reach out. Social media. I know Councilman elect Joe Brooks, kudos to you so far. You've been doing it. You sent out that survey for, a master plan on how we can improve certain things in Jersey City, which I am grateful for. So not speaking to you personally, but I'm talking about to the other ones. Don't get so complacent to where, it's gonna be like another 12 years. And then there was an article from the Jersey City Times. I don't think I have it. Let me see if I have it real quick. But just to speak while I'm looking for it, there was an article from the Jersey City Times basically saying, oh well, if Solomon, some of them will get quote unquote like some of them won't vote his way and this that, and the other. I can't really find it right now. I thought I took a screenshot of it. I will show you guys, but you know to tell you the truth, the way the last 12 years have been, one of the reasons why I wasn't going to vote for McGreevy. So that's just period, point blank. Let's just put that there for full transparency. But in terms of how the affordability, right outside my door, I have a 14-story building that I know, excuse me, I'm not probably, I know for a fact that I won't be able to move into. And we'll have all the amenities. We'll have a pool at the top. I looked it up. We'll have a pool at the top and all this dressings and 5-star this, that, and the other, whatever, parking, all this and that. And people in the community can't even go live there or afford. They can go live there, but they'll be evicted because they can't afford to be living there. So what's the point? So, McGreevy came on and I saw a lot of interviews about, this was, bankrupt, put the city in $200 million in debt. If he had a Councilman Solomon, and Councilman, excuse me, not Councilman, I can't stop calling him Councilman. He's Mayor-elect Solomon. Now mayor, I hope soon I can just call him Mayor Solomon now, but because I can't wait to get full about. But Mayor-elect Solomon, we're gonna, I watched him during the debates on Channel 11 and Pix 11, and he was talking about, this is gonna put us in the city in $200 million debt over the course of 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. The tax abatements that Mayor Fulop and the council have agreed on, and his council that aligned with him, $2.2 billion. So don't tell me, and this is for developments that most people who are born and raised in Jersey City cannot even live in. So don't tell me about anything about how it's going to put the city in debt, because we pay high taxes whether you are a renter or whatever, you are a homeowner or whatever the case may be. We pay high taxes in this city. We are the most Jersey City is the most unaffordable city in the United States. It is and that's not a good statistic to have for the second largest city in New Jersey. Number one, it's not even in the state, it's in the freaking country. And it's crazy. And it's sad. It's sad. New Jersey is one of the smallest states in the whole 50 states. And this city, the second largest city, is the most, because we are right across the Hudson River from New York. You can't afford to live here. It's ridiculous. People are getting pushed out, moving down south, moving here, moving there, moving everywhere, Florida, whatever, wherever they want to live or whatever, and getting priced out. It's not that people want to not live here, it's getting priced out. I have to moonlight sometimes and work 2 jobs just to afford rent and get by and make it. So with that being said, I really do, and I'm going to be holding that's what this show is about, holding facts, accountability, and transparency. That's our slogan here on Grayson Politics Live. I want to be holding the new mayor-elect and the city council that is aligned with him, because he got the whole slate, accountable. Going forward, you want to do this rec center in Ward A, which I talked about this, all the ward should have a rec center or at least a pool in their wards or whatever. I digress about that. But the $1,000 rent, that's one of the reasons why I voted for you, Mayor-elect Solomon. The 15, even if it can't be $1,000, make it $1,500. I want a cap on it, because I'm gonna hold you to that. I know you're gonna be hitting the ground running day one, but I really hope you and your administration is gonna be hitting the ground running, and because I'm gonna be holding you accountable for it if it doesn't happen. Make it happen. So going back to the McGreevy thing, I don't want to hear anything about the city going into debt or $200 million when Fulop gave $2.2 billion in tax abatements to these developers to build. If you're a rich developer, why do you need money from the city for a tax abatement? Newport tried to just do it and re-up on a 30-year. When they had a 30-year tax abatement, they tried to re-up on another 30-year tax abatement so they can fix certain things on a 30-year-old building. Fortunately, surprisingly, I should say, this past city council voted it down, which they're used to voting everything due, and a lot of them were appointees of Fulop, especially in my ward. I don't know her name specifically, but she was an appointee of Fulop and swayed a lot towards his ways. After Councilwoman Prince Airy went to economic director or whatever, he appoints his people, and that's another thing. We don't need 2 economic districts to we only need 1. It only takes 1. It's a lot of redundancies in this city. We don't need 2 economics. The city is not that big to where we need 2 of these uh, development corporations to make one, consolidate it to one. So if she got to lose her job, so be it, and make a more affordable housing. Bayfront, let's start getting the ground running on that. Let's go. I live not too far from it. I want to be in there. And I want the $1,000 rent and I want the $1,500 rent. Because it's just too, I want to stay in my city. The path is right there. I'm 10 minutes driving away from the path. I work in the city. I don't want to go anywhere else. And it's just I remember, rest in peace to the guy who ran for mayor back in, this is like maybe over 5-10 years ago. He was like, the rent is just too damn high. And affordability is a problem over in New York and here, just across the Hudson. The only thing that separates us is a river. So, I'm really holding you guys accountable. I will do my best to cover and go as a constituent to these council meetings and see how you guys vote. Because, so going back to that article with the Jersey City Times, and I'll bring it up, I don't, excuse my French again, I don't give a damn how they vote, as long as it's towards the constituency of the voter, the constituency. So you're gonna vote for the $1,000 rent cap and the $1,500 rent cap, so be it. Let's go. And it's gonna put us in a little debt, so be it. I'm willing to pay the taxes for that. Because you know why? It'll save me in the long run. It'll save me and my family enough money to stay here in Jersey City and be invested here in Jersey City and to survive in Jersey City, because everything's going, groceries, everything is so expensive. Everything. It's not just one thing, it's everything. Car insurance, car note. You got a car, you got to have insurance for it. Gas fluctuates up and down based on, now you got Trump with this Venezuela thing and stuff like that. So gas prices are going up and down, up and down, up and down. Matter of fact, segueing into this, I saw another article, I think it was on NJ.com, to credit them, about we're getting I think a 14-cent increase on gas in New Jersey or whatever. Cut it out. One thing I don't like, and we won't be doing on Grayson Politics Live and anything going forward, when we talk about issues, whether it be national or local here in Jersey City or the state of New Jersey, or just national, when we have candidates on, we won't fearmonger. And I believe, some of these other news companies, they do it for clickbait and for you to get to subscribe to them and this. And I get it. Look, I'm trying to get you to subscribe and follow it and stuff like that. But one thing we do a little different here at Grayson Media and Grayson Politics Live is we were not going to get followers under false pretenses and try to fearmonger you to watch and listen and follow and subscribe. No, we're not going to do that. And the 14th New Jersey gas has always been relatively cheap in reference to comparison to California, where they got like $4, $5 gas over there. We have refineries over here. So, and we're one of the very few states, well, I think we're the only state outside of Oregon who is optional, who we don't pump our gas. That's what we're so proud of that. At least I'm proud of it. We don't pump our gas in New Jersey. We're the only state that does it. So if I got to pay 14 cents for somebody to keep their jobs, because these are jobs. Number one, for them to be outside in the cold and in the heat in the summertime, all throughout year end, these are jobs. For every gas station you go through and you pull up, you're getting serviced. And you should be tipping them. Yes. Yeah, I know they don't do the little squeegee thing anymore and wipe your window like they used to back in the 90s and stuff like that. But if you ask for it, I know in the turnpike, Sunoco is very expensive, but if you ask for it, they do it. And you should be tipping them. These are jobs. And we should be grateful. So let's not fear monger about, I know it's very expensive over here to live, and I know it's very expensive. Everything is going up, but a damn 14 cents on a gas price, I'm always about that. Yeah, I'm like, wow, it went up this, this, that, and the other, but I'm not going to nickel and dime that, be frugal about that when we're one of the only states that we don't pump gas. We're not self-service. I watch on social media how people struggle. They gotta go in, put their car at risk, lock the door, because you don't want nobody stealing your car, and then go in. Oh, can you go into the mini mart or whatever it is? And then, can you pump one? Can you put gas or pump one, please? Or pump six, $20 on this or whatever the case. Then you got to go pump the gas, wait, and then be on your merry way. No, we don't have to do that in Jersey. So if we got to pay an extra 14 cents, so be it. And I know a lot of people are struggling, like, oh, well, you being elitist or whatever. No, you being bougie. No, it's not that. It's the fact that it's a service. It's helping jobs, people out there. And I don't drive personally, but I ride in the car. I pay for a car. It's expensive, and I don't want to pump gas. I know a lot of people don't in Jersey, and I see it on social media for the residents that don't who concur with me. So let's not fearmonger that and do that. But going back to Jersey City, yeah, we're gonna be holding you accountable for all the politicians out there. And on the city council and Mayor-elect Solomon. Just please get it done. Get it done. You have a full slate. I want you passing things that help the people. Executive order, anything you have to, and pass it. And don't give Mayor-elect Solomon a hard time. I know Councilwoman Denise Ridley, from what I saw when I went to one of the council meetings, you had said, Mayor Solomon can't do it alone because you sit on JCRA. I find that a little bit of conflict of interest, but you sitting on that board, a lot of them don't get stipends and stuff like that or whatever, but whatever the case may be, you sit on that board to approve for JCRA, and JCRA, they approve a lot of these high rises and this and developments that go on in the city. She sits on that board. You better be approving affordable housing, because you came. I'm not coming for you, but what I do know is that I have family that live in Ward A. And that race, you won fair and square, but you won by a small margin. First of all, you had to do a runoff because there were so many people running with all these people that were running for mayor. I'm not even going to get into that. Everybody had candidates, so they split the vote. I've said this before on Grayson Politics Live. I was a big proponent of Pam Johnson. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to, make the runoff. I was disappointed about that. Even though I can't vote in Ward A, I'm not a resident of Ward A. I have family who live in Ward A. And you have to be more present, Miss Councilwoman. I've heard some things and heard from friends even who said that you are not seen uh, and you're not heard. Uh, this was an election year, so you were out and about. But when it's quiet and it's not election season and stuff like that, you should be out and about. You should be having town halls. You should be posting on social media, being transparent, even if you can't get out and being transparent. Frank Educational Gilmore, your counterpart, does it. He even has a page dedicated to Ward F where he posts everything about. Well, matter of fact, I believe the page is called Everything About Ward F, where he posts so his constituents can see what he's doing and not only what he's doing, what the ward is doing. Hey, I'm having a town hall here. Hey, there's a food bank here or a food drive here or whatever. Or hey, let's start. I remember one time he had a meeting for a block association to start. He's being transparent. Be more transparent. And the people will, you have people on your side, but you lost, you came very close. I think that person who ran against you, Miss, if I'm not mistaken, what was her name? Let me look on my Instagram real quick. I follow her too. I follow her. What's her name? But your opponent, basically, you came close by 492 votes. And whoever worked on your staff, I called you out during the election season. Not even a resident of Ward A, and they kind of quote unquote not attacked me. I'm tough skinned, so I can take it, especially now in this media space that I'm getting involved in. I'm very tough skinned. But he didn't come after me or anything, just to be for full transparency. He just was like, oh, well, you shouldn't be saying this, and this is the facts, and you posted, about her, in support of her and stuff. Yeah, I did post because she ran on Councilman Solomon's ticket. And maybe I shouldn't have posted. And I told him I retracted that. I should have retracted it. I shouldn't have posted in favor of her because I never was a big fan. She ran on Fullup's ticket and voted every way. And she was in the seat for the past 8 years, and voted every way Fullup wanted her to vote. So why do I think she's going to evolve under the Solomon ticket? I don't know. I think it's just, in my perspective, her just keeping a job and keeping in power. A lot of these things, that's why I said a little earlier in the show when I segued after the interview, I said, don't let this get to your head, because in another 4 years, you can be voted out. And even if it's the little 47,000 people that will do it, they will vote you out. I would love to see more in 4 years of maybe even 100,000, 150,000 people come out. If they're registered, this is not just the population. This is registered voters in Jersey City. And they're not coming out and voting. 47,000 people. So do not bitch and moan about what Solomon will be doing. And hopefully he will be doing for the better, Mayor-elect Solomon. And that in this new incoming council, and the new council president, which 9 times out of 10 they'll probably vote, since he's most senior and knowledgeable, Rolando Lavarro Jr., who I'm in favor for, because he was on the council when Fulop was around. He pushed back, and he saw a lot of things that he wasn't going to be bullied by, Mayor Fulop. So I say that all to say, in wrapping, because we're almost about to hit the 2-hour mark. Do right by the people, and the people will do right by you. Don't screw us over. We cannot afford another time. Is of the essence. I will say this. I think I said this on the last show or whatever. I'm about maybe a year or two away of being priced out of Jersey City. And I know a couple of other people who are. And it is a serious, serious concern. So, Mayor-elect Solomon, I hope I want, not hope. This is not about hope. This is not a Barack Obama campaign. I want, as a taxpayer, I want these things. I want the $1,500 rent. I want the $1,000 rent cap. I don't care what it puts the city in debt. I don't care, because all these tax abatements were giving out during the Fulop administration. $2.2 billion. So if $200 million is gonna hurt the city, so be it. To get affordable rent and get it capped, so be it. That's our taxpayer money. I'd rather pay that down the line, pay that debt down the line, than to have more money in my pocket and stay in this city than tax abatement money given to a developer where I can't even afford to even live outside my doorstep, and 14-story buildings being built outside my doorstep, and I can't even afford to be even living there. So to wrap up with that, vote anyway. The council should be voting anyway, and anyway, this is my message to you. Vote in the way of the people. The mayor put something out there, they put an ordinance out there or whatever, and it's for the people, vote. It shouldn't be any debate about anything. Jersey City Times, I didn't like your perspective on, and we can, if you ever want to contact and come on and clear up what you said, the editor-in-chief of Jersey City Times, I'm not too sure of your name, but if you ever want to come on the show and clear up why you wrote that article, you can come on the show. My email is very transparent here. You can reach out to me on social media. Matter of fact, to clear anything up in full transparency, the guest that we had on tonight, DeLano, the candidate we had on tonight, he reached out to me. I didn't reach out to him. And normally, when you are a media institution or media company or whatever, I'm not big or whatever, I'm not MS Now or CNN or anything, but normally in industry practice is to, you reach out to the candidate. So I had a couple of candidates. We will be having a couple of candidates. I think we're going to have one on next week, one from hopefully I'm going to confirm with him tonight or tomorrow. Just to give you a little snippet of next week, we will have another candidate on, God willing. If he confirms, I believe he did, he will be a council person. He's running for council person of Clifton, New Jersey, and so something more local, but we don't turn away or shy away any candidate that wants to come on the platform. Just to go for the weeks ahead, I had a council person, maybe in not a council person, a candidate from Illinois reach out to me. He's running for Attorney General of Illinois. He is a Republican, and we don't shy away from from any partisan. We're not partisan on the show. We interview all candidates, Democrat, Independent, or Republican. We get all perspectives on the show. Yes, some of you may have a bias and may tune away and this, that, and the other, but you want to get all perspectives and all candidates from from all around the country. So we want to consider ourselves a national platform. Yes, we're based over here in the East Coast and stuff like that, but we've been having candidates reach out to us, so it's very encouraging. Trying to get the word out, putting ads out there and stuff like that. It's work. It's work, but you don't get anywhere without hard work. You don't gain a following without putting in the hours, putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to you're just not gonna pop out. I'm not a Stephen A. Smith where I'm gonna get 1 million subscribers in a couple of months, work my way to that. I'm not a household name. So in closing, like, subscribe, follow. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Grayson Politics Live. I appreciate everyone who watched. Love you. And thank you for supporting. Like, follow us on all social media platforms, and Grayson out. Take care.